My parents live about 15 miles away, close enough to help when work pulls me in on weekends. And as a real estate director, weekends are never really off. When clients call, I answer. That Saturday in October 2023, I asked my parents to watch Jacob while I met a client. They agreed immediately. When I arrived that morning, I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. Daisy's car was already in the driveway. My younger sister, 4 years younger than me. She never went to college, married young, struggled financially. Our relationship used to be neutral, not warm, not hostile, just sí. But 2 years ago, something changed, and I would soon learn that resentment doesn't disappear, it waits. Daisy was already inside with her daughter Mia. When she saw me, she didn't smile, didn't greet me, just looked at me once, her eyes flat, unreadable, and walked away. I kissed Jacob goodbye, hugged him tight, told him to behave. He smiled at me, that bright, innocent smile that made everything feel safe. I should have listened to the unease in my chest. 3 hours later, I came back with 2 chocolate cakes, one for Jacob, one for Mia. My parents' car was gone. Only Daisy's car remained. Inside, Daisy sat on the couch watching TV. Mia avoided my eyes. Jacob was nowhere in sight. I called for him, no answer. Then I called my mother. She told me, casually, that they had gone to the store and left Jacob with Daisy. That was when fear began to rise. I demanded to know where my son was. Daisy barely looked at me. Probably playing outside, she said. I searched everywhere. And then, as I passed her car, something pulled me toward it. I bent down, and what I saw inside made my blood run cold. Jacob was slumped in the back seat, not moving. My world shattered. I yanked the door, locked. I screamed his name, pounded the glass. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't an accident. This was only the beginning. I don't remember deciding to breathe. I only remember the sound, my own voice, raw and cracked as it tore out of me. Jacob, baby, wake up, it's Mom! His small body stayed slumped, cheeks flushed and angry red, hair plastered to his forehead like he'd been dunked in water. His lips looked wrong, too dry, too pale at the edges, like the life was being sucked out of him in slow motion. I grabbed the handle again and yanked so hard my shoulders screamed. Locked. I rattled it, pulled it, slammed my palm against the window. Nothing. The car sat there like a sealed coffin under the California sun, heat shimmering above the roof as if the air itself was laughing at me. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely form a fist. I punched the window. Once, twice, 3 times. The glass didn't even flinch. By the 4th punch, my knuckles split, warm blood sliding down my fingers. I didn't feel pain. Pain was something for other people, people whose children weren't dying behind glass. I sprinted back into the house, vision tunneling, heart beating so violently it felt like it might rupture. Daisy was still on the couch, still watching TV, like the world hadn't just ended. Where are your keys? I screamed. Give them to me, now! Daisy didn't turn her head. Her voice floated out, lazy and cold. Find them yourself. I don't remember where I put them. For a second, I swear I saw something in her. Not panic, not confusion. Something darker. Like she wanted me to scramble. Like she wanted me to beg. My body shook with a rage so intense it blurred the edges of my vision. But Jacob's face flashed in my mind. Bright red, unmoving, and rage got shoved aside by terror. I bolted for the storage room. My dad kept tools in there. Garden shears, old sports gear, a dusty toolbox he refused to throw away. My eyes landed on a baseball bat. I grabbed it. The wood was heavy in my hands, familiar in a way it shouldn't have been. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I ran. Behind me, Daisy's voice finally changed. Genesis, what are you doing? I didn't answer. I charged toward the car, bat raised, my blood roaring in my ears. I stood at the driver's side window, staring at Jacob's little chest. Was it rising? Was it falling? I couldn't tell. I swung. The first hit cracked the windshield, spiderweb lines racing across the glass. The second hit shattered it. Glass exploded outward with a sharp, violent sound. Tiny pieces flew everywhere, glittering in the sunlight. I didn't care. I reached inside, ignoring the cut slicing into my forearm, and hit the unlock button. The doors popped open. I threw the bat aside, yanked open the back door, and reached for my son. The heat that hit my face was unreal, like opening an oven. Jacob's skin was burning, his body limp. I lifted him out, cradling him against my chest, like I could shield him from everything that had already happened. Oh God, Jacob, baby, look at me. My voice was shaking so hard it barely sounded like mine. Mom's here. I'm here. Please, please don't you dare leave me. His eyes fluttered, just barely, dull, unfocused, like he was looking through me instead of at me. His lips moved. Mom, he rasped. The sound was so weak it destroyed me. I was scared. Aunt Daisy. His head dropped. His eyes closed. No! I tightened my arms around him. No, 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 stay with me. I sprinted to the porch where there was shade, laid him down carefully, and fumbled for my phone with bloody hands. My fingers slipped twice before I finally hit the numbers. When the operator answered, my voice came out strangled. My son, he was locked in a car. He's burning hot. He's not waking up. Please, please send an ambulance. The operator asked questions, but it felt like she was speaking through water. I heard myself giving the address. I heard myself begging. When I hung up, I dropped to my knees beside Jacob and pressed my forehead to his small, damp hair. Hold on, I whispered. Please, baby, just hold on. Behind me, footsteps. Daisy and Mia stood on the porch now. Mia was crying silently, hands clenched at her sides like she was holding her breath. Daisy looked pale. And for the first time since I'd gotten home, I saw something like fear flicker across her face. But it didn't soften me. It didn't make me feel relief, because fear isn't remorse. Fear is self-preservation. 10 minutes felt like 10 years. Every second stretched thin, slicing into my sanity. I kept touching Jacob's cheek, his forehead, his small hands. So hot. Too hot. Finally, the sirens. The ambulance pulled up fast, paramedics rushing toward us with equipment. Their faces changed the moment they saw Jacob. One of them checked his pulse. Another slid a thermometer in. I watched their expressions, tight, focused, and my stomach turned to ice. He's severely overheated, one said quickly. We need to cool him down now. They moved with practiced urgency, placing cold packs, checking his breathing, lifting him onto a stretcher. Mom, come with us, a paramedic said, already rolling Jacob toward the ambulance. I stumbled after them, knees weak, hands sticky with my own blood and Jacob's sweat. The doors slammed. Inside, the air was cold, but it didn't matter. I held Jacob's hand and stared at his face, praying to every god I'd ever heard of. Please, please, please. At the hospital, everything became white lights and rushing feet and voices that sounded far away. Jacob was taken into the emergency room. And then the doors closed. I stood there, frozen, staring at the seam where the doors met, like if I stared hard enough, I could force them open with my will. My legs finally gave out. I sank onto a cold chair in the hallway, head in my hands. Images replayed in my mind on a cruel loop. Jacob slumped in the car, the cracked lips, the red cheeks, the stillness. I whispered his name over and over like a prayer. 30 minutes later, the emergency room door opened. A doctor stepped out, his face serious, then slowly softened. The little boy is out of danger, he said. You found him just in time. My breath left my body in a sob I didn't know I'd been holding. I gripped the doctor's hand, shaking. Thank you, I choked out. Thank you, thank you. Then his expression tightened again. The hospital has notified the police and child protective services due to the nature of his condition, he continued. They'll be here tomorrow to take statements. I nodded, numb. I didn't care who came. I only cared that Jacob was alive. A few minutes later, footsteps echoed fast down the hallway. I looked up. My parents. My mother's face was blotchy and wet with tears, my father's skin pale like he'd been drained. The sight of them detonated something in me. I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly. You have the nerve to show up? My voice came out like a blade. You left him. You left him. My mom rushed to me, grabbing my hands with shaking fingers. Genesis, I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I didn't know. My father's jaw clenched, his voice unsteady. We just went to the store for a bit. We thought Daisy would watch him. We thought it would be fine. Fine. The word hit me like gasoline. Fine, I hissed. My son was locked in a car. My son almost died. And you thought it would be fine? My mother cried harder. My father looked like he wanted to say something. Anything. But nothing came out. I pulled my hands free and pointed down the hall like I could send them back to the moment they made their choice. Go home, I said, voice shaking with rage. I can't look at you right now. They didn't leave. They just stood there, miserable and small, waiting in the corner like two people who finally realized their mistake came with a price they couldn't pay. And Daisy? Daisy didn't come. Not a call, not a text. Nothing. 2 hours later, a nurse approached me with a gentle voice. Your son is awake. My body moved before my mind could catch up. I rushed into the room. Jacob lay there, eyes open, face pale now, an IV in his arm. He looked tiny in that hospital bed. too tiny for what he'd just survived. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears. Mom! I grabbed him carefully, holding him as gently as I could, and the tears finally fell, hot, unstoppable. I'm here, I whispered into his hair. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. My parents were allowed in after the doctor confirmed Jacob was stable. They stood at the foot of the bed like ghosts of themselves. My mom stepped forward, voice trembling. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Grandma failed you. My dad swallowed hard. I was irresponsible, Jacob. I'm sorry. Jacob's eyes darted between them, fear still clinging to his face like a shadow. Then he turned to me, voice small. Mom, he whispered. I was so scared. I stroked his hair. I know, baby. His lips trembled. Aunt Daisy locked me in the car. The room went dead silent. My mother covered her mouth, a muffled sob escaping her hand. My father's fists clenched so tight his knuckles whitened. And me? I felt like my heart had been ripped out and replaced with fire. But I didn't explode. Not yet, because Jacob was watching me. And in that moment, I realized something else. This wasn't just about what Daisy did. It was about why. And I was about to find out that the truth was uglier than I could have imagined. The next morning came without sleep. I had spent the night in a stiff hospital chair, my fingers wrapped around Jacob's hand as if letting go would invite the nightmare back in. Every time he stirred, my heart lurched. Every beep of a monitor felt too loud. When the door opened at around 8, I looked up sharply. 2 police officers stepped inside, followed by a woman with a calm face and gentle eyes. She introduced herself as Sarah, a Child Protective Services worker. Her voice was soft, measured, like she understood that every word carried weight in this room. We need to take a statement from Jacob about what happened, she said. You can stay right beside him the entire time. Jacob stiffened immediately. I leaned closer, brushing his hair back. You don't have to be scared, I whispered. Mom's right here. You can tell the truth, that's all. He swallowed, nodded once. Sarah pulled a chair closer, lowering herself to Jacob's eye level. You're very brave, she said. Can you tell us what happened yesterday? Jacob's fingers tightened around mine. When Grandpa and Grandma left, he began, voice trembling, I saw a chocolate bar on the counter. I felt my chest tighten. I asked Aunt Daisy if I could have it, he continued. She said no. She said it was Mia's. Sarah nodded encouragingly, jotting notes. I really wanted it, Jacob whispered, so I ate it anyway. He paused, eyes flicking to me, searching for reassurance. I squeezed his hand gently. It's okay, I murmured. Keep going. Jacob's voice dropped even lower. When Aunt Daisy found out, I cried. I said I was sorry, but she didn't forgive me. My mother's breath hitched behind me. She grabbed my arm, Jacob said, his words coming slower now, heavier. She pulled me outside to her car. I begged her to stop. I told her I was sorry again. My nails dug into my palm. She pushed me into the back seat, he went on. Then she closed the door. The room felt like it had shrunk. She locked it, Jacob said softly. And before she went back inside, she said I needed to be taught a lesson, that Mom spoiled me too much. My mother broke down completely. She turned away, shoulders shaking, covering her face as if she could hide from the sound of her grandson's voice. My father stood rigid, his face red with rage, jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. Jacob's breathing quickened. It got really hot, he whispered. I banged on the windows. I called for her. Nobody came. He swallowed hard. I was so tired, he said. I don't remember anything after that. Silence swallowed the room. I pulled Jacob into my arms, holding him carefully around the IV lines, pressing my lips into his hair to keep from screaming. Every word had sliced through me. Sarah waited a moment, giving Jacob space, then gently thanked him. You did really well, she said. You were very brave. The officers exchanged grim looks before stepping forward to take statements from my parents and me. I told them everything, from the moment I came home and couldn't find Jacob, to seeing him in the car, to smashing the windshield. I didn't soften anything. I didn't protect anyone. My parents admitted their part too. They acknowledged leaving Jacob with Daisy without telling me, assuming it would be fine. Sarah's tone changed when she addressed them. You accepted responsibility for watching Jacob, she said firmly. Leaving him without consent placed him in danger. You will be involved in this investigation. My father straightened. We accept that, he said hoarsely, whatever the consequences are. My mother nodded, tears still streaming. Just please don't keep us from seeing our grandson. I watched them, conflicted, angry, hurt, but also aware of something important. They were careless, but Daisy was cruel. When the statements were finished, one of the officers pulled me aside. I know you're furious, he said quietly, but you need to let the law handle this. Don't take revenge into your own hands. I nodded, even though every cell in my body wanted to do the opposite, because I had Jacob to think about. 2 days later, Sarah returned. Jacob was asleep, his face peaceful for the first time since the incident. Sarah sat beside me, lowering her voice. I wanted to update you, she said. We interviewed Daisy. My stomach nodded. She denied everything, Sarah continued. She claimed Jacob got into the car by himself and locked the door. She accused you of coaching him to lie. Disgust burned through me. How could she? I stopped myself, breathing hard. But, Sarah said gently, her story didn't hold. I looked at her. Why? Sarah hesitated for half a second. Because of Mia. My heart skipped. Mia told the police the truth, she said. She confirmed everything Jacob said. She even told us she begged her mother to let Jacob out. I closed my eyes. Relief, grief, rage. They collided inside me all at once. That little girl, Sarah continued softly, stood up to protect her cousin, even though it meant testifying against her own mother. I thought of Mia's scared eyes on the couch, of her silent tears on the porch. Daisy hadn't just hurt my son. She'd destroyed her own child, too. Before leaving, Sarah squeezed my shoulder. There will be a trial, she said. Jacob will get justice. And please, don't take revenge. Let the system work. I watched Jacob sleep, his chest rising and falling steadily. Justice. I didn't know what it would look like yet, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This wasn't over. And when it was, our family would never look the same again. Jacob was discharged 4 days later. Physically, the doctors said he was strong. Children healed fast. But they warned me, quietly, carefully, that the real damage might surface later. Nightmares, fear, trauma that didn't show up on monitors or charts. I nodded and listened, but my eyes stayed on my son. He walked slowly beside me as we left the hospital, his small hand tucked into mine. Every time we passed a parked car, his grip tightened. I felt it, and it broke me all over again. My parents came to pick us up. My mother fussed over Jacob, asking if he was cold, if he was tired, if he wanted juice. My father drove in silence, knuckles white on the steering wheel. I thought we were going home, until the car turned. Dad, I said slowly, recognizing the street. Where are we going? He didn't look at me. You need to see this, he said. Both of you. Let me handle it. The car stopped in front of Daisy's house. My stomach dropped. Before I could protest, my father was already out of the car, pulling a large, heavy bag from the trunk. He didn't explain, just nodded toward the front door. Yeah. Come, he said. Daisy opened the door when we knocked. The color drained from her face when she saw us. Mom, Dad, she stammered. Her eyes flicked to Jacob, then away. What are you... My parents walked past her without waiting for permission. I followed, Jacob clinging to my hand. The living room looked normal. Too normal. Toys scattered. The TV paused, like nothing terrible had ever happened there. My father set the bag down on the table and opened it. Chocolate bars spilled out. Dozens, then more and more. They clattered against each other, piling up until the table was nearly buried. I counted without meaning to. At least 200. Daisy stared at the pile, confusion flickering across her face. My father looked at her, his eyes colder than I had ever seen them. Eat, he said. Her mouth fell open. What? You heard me, he replied. Eat all of it. Daisy's hands started to shake. I can't eat all that, she said weakly. That's impossible. My father's voice hardened. You were willing to lock a 5-year-old child in a car over one chocolate bar, he said. Now I've bought chocolate for you. Eat. She started crying immediately. Dad, please, she sobbed. I was wrong. I can't. My mother stepped forward. For a moment, I thought she would defend Daisy like she always had. Instead, she pointed at her, her voice sharp and final. If you don't eat, she said, then don't call us your parents anymore. Daisy collapsed to her knees. She picked up a bar with trembling hands and tore into it, sobbing as she chewed. My father stood over her, arms crossed. Faster, he said. There's plenty left. After 30 bars, Daisy's face was green. She gagged, clutching her stomach. I can't, she cried. I was wrong. I'm sorry. That was when Mia ran in. She threw herself at my father's legs, crying. Grandpa, please forgive Mommy, she begged. She knows she was wrong. My father's expression finally softened. He knelt down, pulled Mia into his arms, and said nothing. The room went silent, except for Daisy's sobbing. Then my father stood. I'm sorry, he said to Daisy, his voice heavy with pain, but you are no longer my daughter. Daisy's head snapped up. Dad! You never apologized to Jacob, he continued. Not once. Not until now. And even now, it's only because you're afraid. Daisy crawled toward Jacob, reaching out. Jacob, I'm sorry, she cried. Auntie was wrong. Jacob pressed closer to me, eyes wide. I didn't let go of his hand. I turned and walked out. 2 weeks later, the trial began. When the judge asked Daisy why she did it, her voice shook as she finally admitted the truth. "I wanted revenge," she said. "For what?" the judge asked. She swallowed. She refused to lend me $120,000. I felt sick. That money was Jacob's future, his education, his life. Because I said no, she had nearly killed my son. The verdict was swift. Guilty. 12 years in prison. $200,000 in compensation to Jacob. My parents weren't spared either. For negligence, they were banned from seeing Jacob for 1 year and ordered to attend child care responsibility classes. My mother cried. My father accepted it silently. As Daisy was led away, she looked at me with regret in her eyes. I turned away. Justice didn't erase the pain, but it did draw a line. And on the other side of that line, my only job was to protect my son. Time didn't heal Jacob the way people promised it would. It dulled the sharpest edges, sure, but it left scars behind, quiet ones that surfaced when I least expected them. For weeks after the trial, Jacob refused to walk near parked cars. If we passed one, he froze, his little body going rigid as if bracing for something unseen. At night, he woke up screaming, soaked in sweat, calling my name like he was afraid I might disappear if he didn't say it out loud. I slept beside him every night. Sometimes I didn't even remember falling asleep. I'd just wake up with his small hand wrapped around my finger, his breathing uneven but real, alive. That word still felt fragile. The therapists said it would take time. That trauma in children didn't always scream. It whispered. It hid in corners and shadows and dreams. So I slowed my life down. I turned down weekend meetings. I stopped chasing every client call. I restructured my workdays so I could pick Jacob up early from school, sit with him while he did homework, cook dinner together even when I was exhausted. He needed consistency. He needed safety. And I needed to be someone who never left him behind. My parents weren't allowed to see Jacob for a year. The judge's order was clear. No visits, no calls, no excuses. My mother cried when she heard it. My father didn't argue. They both knew they deserved it. For that year, it was just me and Jacob. And strangely, there was peace in that. Not happiness, not yet, but quiet. Jacob continued therapy. Slowly, his nightmares became less frequent. His fear of cars faded into something manageable. He learned to unlock car doors from the inside. He learned how to shout for help. He learned things no 5-year-old should ever have to know. But he learned them with me beside him. When the year ended, my parents came to my door. They didn't bring excuses. They didn't bring justifications. They brought accountability. My mother apologized again, without crying this time. My father bowed his head and admitted his failure in words that didn't try to soften the truth. I didn't forgive them immediately. Forgiveness isn't something you hand out because time has passed. But I watched them try. I watched them attend classes. I watched them respect every boundary I set. I watched them wait patiently for Jacob to decide when he was ready. And eventually, he was. The first time he hugged them again, my chest tightened. Not with fear, but with something close to relief. As for Daisy, she stayed in prison. No visits, no letters, no calls. To my parents, she was no longer their daughter. They kept their word. Mia, though, sweet, brave Mia, came to stay with her father. On weekends, she still visited my parents, and when she saw Jacob, she smiled shyly, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to anymore. Jacob hugged her first. Kids understand fairness better than adults ever do. 2 years have passed now. Jacob is 7. He laughs easily again. He plays soccer. He sleeps through most nights. Sometimes he still asks to hold my hand when we walk past cars, but I don't mind. I'll hold his hand for as long as he needs. Looking back, people still ask me the same question. If you had lent Daisy the money, wouldn't all of this have been avoided? I always give them the same answer. No, because money didn't change Daisy. It revealed her, and my job was never to save her. It was to protect my child. Now I ask you, what would you have done? Was I wrong to say no? Or was I right to protect my son's future, even when the cost was my own blood? 2 years have passed since the day I found my son locked inside that car. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago. Other times, it feels like yesterday, like if I close my eyes too long, I'll see it again. The red skin, the stillness, the silence that nearly stole him from me. Jacob is 7 now. He's taller, stronger, louder. He runs through the house with socked feet and leaves Lego pieces in places I somehow always manage to step on. He laughs easily, especially when he's winning at board games he insists are strategy-based, even though he mostly just makes up the rules. He still goes to therapy, not because he's broken, but because healing doesn't mean pretending something never happened. It means learning how to carry it without letting it crush you. At first, he was afraid of cars. Any car, especially dark-colored ones. He'd freeze in parking lots, eyes wide, breath shallow. Sometimes he'd ask me, out of nowhere, "Mom, you won't leave me, right?" I would kneel down, look him straight in the eyes, and answer the same way every time. Never, and I meant it. Over time, the nightmares faded. The fear loosened its grip. He learned how to unlock car doors from the inside, how to honk the horn, how to shout until someone listens. Skills no child should ever need, but skills that saved his life. My parents are back in our lives now, slowly, carefully. When the 1-year contact ban ended, they didn't rush in demanding forgiveness. They waited. They respected my boundaries. They let Jacob decide when he was ready. That mattered. They've changed, not perfectly, not magically, but genuinely. I forgave them, not because they didn't cause harm, but because they owned it, because they didn't hide behind excuses, because they learned, and because Jacob wanted them back. That was the deciding factor. As for Daisy, she has been in prison for 2 years now. No one visits her. No one writes. To my parents, she is no longer their daughter. That loss weighs on them more than they ever admit, but they don't take it back. They know some lines, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed. Mia lives with her father. On weekends, she still visits my parents. She and Jacob still play together, laughing, arguing, forgiving each other in the effortless way only children can. I never blamed Mia. If anything, I admire her. She told the truth when it mattered most. She saved my son, and she did it knowing it would cost her everything she thought was safe. People still argue about my choice. They tell me that if I had lent Daisy the $120,000, none of this would have happened. They say money can fix family problems. I've learned something different. Money doesn't create monsters, it exposes them. If a refusal is enough to make someone hurt a child, then the problem was never the refusal. It was always the person. Today, when I tuck Jacob into bed, I watch his chest rise and fall until sleep takes him completely. I brush his hair back and whisper the same words I did in the hospital. I'm here, and I always will be, because family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by who protects you when you're powerless. And I will choose my son every time.